What is up, guys? Delboy here. I just wanted to share my opinion on Deontay Wilder's recent comments in regards to Dominic Breazeale and his son. Basically what he said was, and I'm paraphrasing, I want your son to look into the man's eyes that crippled your daddy. I'm not sure whether he said that word for word, but that's basically what he said. And, Deontay Wilder in the past has said a couple of questionable things, and I wanted to share my opinion. Now, me personally, I don't have an issue with it at all. I feel that basically boxing is a sport where the worst case scenario is you take someone's life. Someone loses their life in the ring. That is the worst case scenario. And we all know that as boxing fans. And I always go back to this. If we had such a problem with it, we wouldn't support such a sport, whether that be through pay-per-view buys, through buying tickets, through talking about it online and promoting the sport. We wouldn't do that if we had such a problem with it. So to say we have a problem with Deontay Wilder's comments, I think it would make us a little bit hypocritical, Deontay Wilder, like I said, he said things about catching bodies on his record, about crippling people. We know, as boxing fans, they are the worst case scenarios, and we still support the sport. So for us to then sort of criticise Deontay Wilder for saying these things, what does that make us? Do you know what I mean? It just sounds very hypocritical. If you had such a problem with it, don't support such a sport. I'm pretty honest about that. I've always have been. I know that is the worst case scenario. I know what can happen to fighters, but I still choose to support the sport. So what does that make me? If I were to complain about it, it would make me a hypocrite. So I accept it. I don't want to see it happen. Of course I don't. I don't want to see fighters get hurt. I don't want to see fighters die. I want to see fighters retire in good health, with their faculties intact and all that good stuff. But I know that, that's not always the outcome. I know fighters can, die in the ring. I know fighters can get crippled in the ring. I know fighters can leave the sport in a terrible state. But I choose to support the sport still. I'm still a fan of the sport. So what does that make me? And what does that make you? Because you support the sport as well. Even the people out there complaining about Deontay Wilder and his comments, you still support the sport knowing that could happen. So what does that make you? Do you know what I mean? So I feel people sometimes are they're not honest with themselves or other people about the realities of boxing. They paint it out to be this gentleman's sport. They paint it out to be a sport that changes lives, and it does change lives, but it also ruins lives, It also has detrimental consequences to the people involved, So we've just got to be honest with ourselves about boxing and the worst case scenarios that the sport can bring. I think some people sometimes just bury their head in the sands and make out like this sport is all rosy when it's really not. We're all sick fucks for watching it. We've all got a bloodlust. I like to see people get knocked out. I like to see blood. One of the reasons I watch boxing is to see that. I'll be completely honest. Yes, I appreciate the technical ability of fighters. Yes, I appreciate the tactics. Yes, I like to break down fights and talk about how certain styles are going to play out against each other. I love all of that. I love the mental aspects of boxing. I love every aspect of boxing. But one of the aspects I love is the brutality. We've all got a bloodlust, and that's part of the reason we watch boxing. And none of you can tell me different, because when there's a good fight on TV, where there's two guys who are knocking the shit out of each other, you're up and down jumping, you're excited, you're really liking the action, and that's the bloodlust. When Deontay Wilder or people like him bring these things up in boxing, I think it's actually refreshing, because it kind of reminds people how brutal this sport is. And you can see some people shy away from it, or you can see some people try and kid themselves that that's not what it's about. But ultimately that is the worst case, and I think people just need to realise that. So my thoughts on Deontay Wilder and his catch a body comments, or his comments on crippling Breazeale, I've not really got an issue with it. Should he have brought Breazeale's son into it? Probably not. That's one thing I will say. He probably should have left that bit out. But in regards to him talking about hurting people or even killing them, I've got to be honest, I've not got an issue with it. I really don't. And I think it's just outrage culture that we live in these days, you know. People are always going to cry about things and moan about things. I'm not a big Deontay Wilder fan, and if you followed this channel you would realise that. But I don't have an issue with anything he said, to be honest with you. But that's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think? Peace.